Welcome back. Another episode of Ask the Attorney. I'm your host, Alex Alexander with Client Focused Media. Today, I'm super excited to bring Dana Gallup from Gallup Auerbach. Trusted established legal representation on your side can be found on the web at gallup-law.com. That's gallup-law.com. Welcome, Dana. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. We appreciate you being here. So we talked a little bit before we came on camera, right? And one of the first things I really like to know, if it's okay with you, is what got you into law and what brought you to where you are today with basically being in labor and employment law?
Well, sure. Obviously, at law school, you kind of get a feel for all sorts of different types of law. But to be honest with you, the only area of law that I liked or thought I would want to go into was essentially civil rights law, and employment law, sort of a byproduct or subspecies of civil rights law in a lot of respects. And so right out of law school, I tried to create a decent employment practice. Early on, I was primarily representing employees. Over time, that has shifted. I still primarily represent employees, but I now represent a fair amount of small to medium-sized businesses as well, really doing what I kind of call preventative maintenance work of trying to make sure that the business doesn't make a misstep that might result in a claim or litigation. And so we do all sorts of behind-the-scenes work in terms of employment manuals, employment agreements, personnel and human resources consultations. We have a lot of clients basically who call us either daily or weekly or send us an email before they're about to hire someone or fire someone. And, we sort of go through a vetting process to make sure that they're doing the right thing and that there's no, hopefully minimize the concern that someone's going to bring a claim. So we do that. On the employee side, obviously, we're in taking cases and determining whether the employer did do the wrong thing and whether there is a claim there that we would pursue.
And I know things have changed. Things have changed a lot, and I'm sure it's almost exponential, right? Where things were probably very similar for the first 10 years, and probably the last 5 years, things have kind of exponentially changed, and especially in what you're doing. Can you tell us maybe some of the more common changes when it comes to HR and how to deal with whether it be firing somebody or somebody who's been fired?
Yeah. Well, what we've noticed is that some of the bigger changes and what's become more prevalent has less to do with discrimination. Certainly, sexual harassment cases have been steadily upticking. Retaliation cases continue to increase. And that's basically where someone, usually internally, maybe they go to human resources and they complain that they feel they're being discriminated against. And maybe they are, maybe they're not. But as you can imagine, most employers don't take kindly to being accused of discrimination. And so it's kind of a natural instinct, candidly, to maybe not be so nice to that person afterwards, or maybe try to find a reason to get rid of that person. That's a big no-no in the law. There's every employment law out there has an anti-retaliation statute aspect of it, and so that's candidly an easier claim for an employee to bring because it's they say, hey, I complained on June 1st about my boss discriminating against me, and I've been here for 3 years, and you terminated me 2 weeks later. And that relationship of close time period between the protected conduct and the termination makes for a very good retaliation claim. So we see a lot of those. The other thing we see a lot of nowadays are wage and hour claims, overtime and minimum wage. Believe it or not, South Florida and the Southern District has more overtime and minimum wage claims filed than anywhere else in the country. And it's more than, frankly, New York and California combined. So we see a lot of those types of claims. And what we try to do for employers is obviously make sure that their payroll systems are correct, that they're paying people properly, that they're paying overtime when they're supposed to be paying overtime, and try to do everything we can to avoid them being the next target of litigation.
I mean, it sounds like I like the fact that you're doing on both sides, but right, you're able to help that individual who feels like they've been discriminated against, and of course, if they have been, then you can help. But I really like the aspect of training or working with the clients, the actual business owners, to make sure that they're starting it out properly. So it has to be there. Obviously, if you're doing it right from the get-go, there's a whole lot less litigation in the end. So with that, I really want to thank you very much. And I want to thank you for being on the show today. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning into this episode of Ask the Attorney. If you are a small and medium-sized business and you're in we'll say, Southern Florida area, and you would like to discuss any sort of these kind of topics with a good lawyer, I'm going to say that you should look up Dana Gallup, and you should go to Gallup-law or -law.com. That's Gallup-law.com. So you can find more information there. You can also find more information right here at IWantToBuzz.com. Do something good for yourself and do something good for others.